Pokemon Black and White 2 to many fans are considered the best Pokemon games in the franchise. Some fans believe this is where Pokemon peaked. These are the set of games where Game Freak really put in a lot of effort. Pokemon games are never the same after Black and White 2. Game Freak put in so many features they didn't have to put in. The story was great. The lore was super intriguing. The characters played more of a role to the story and had more depth. The list goes on as to why these Pokemon games are considered to be the best. Today, I want to delve into these reasons and much more about why Pokemon Black and White 2 are considered Pokemon's peak or are considered the objectively best Pokemon games. Here to help me out though is one of the most underrated creators out there. Introduce yourself.
What's up, Mystic? Thanks for having me, and what's up, everyone else? My name is Drogane. I dive into lores and discussions on the Pokemon franchise, and today I'm going to help Mystic discuss why Pokemon Black and White 2 are possibly some of the best games, if not the best games, in the Pokemon main series franchise.
So, starting this discussion off, I don't really have a set structure of how this video is going to go. There's a lot to unravel in this set of games because Game Freak really pushed themselves with them. I guess to kick it off, I gotta hand it to Chuggaaconroy. His Let's Play actually inspired me to make this video, and if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have known all these amazing features these games have to offer. So shoutouts to him, and keep creating content, man. I've been watching you since 2009. Anywho, we all know Pokemon Black and White 2 to be the games that took place after the events of the original Univin games, Pokemon Black and White. This go-through of Unova offers a similar but also brand new experience. You start off in the western end of Unova at Aspertia City, or Aspertia City, I guess how you pronounce it. A new part of Unova that Game Freak integrated. From there, it feels like a brand new region, but also a little nostalgic bliss with the likes of Cheren, Bianca, Professor Juniper, and Alder. Cheren, being a rival from the previous games, is now the normal type gym leader of Aspertia. Bianca is now Professor Juniper's assistant. Alder is seen as a mentor as such, and Juniper is still as awesome as the previous titles. We get a new rival with the likes of Hugh, a young boy whose whole goal is to become a powerful trainer, as well as to rescue his sister's Purloin from the clutches of Team Plasma. The new regional area also introduces some old fan favorite mons, such as Riolu, Magby, or Elekid available. Verbank City introduces fans to Roxy, a poison-type gym leader, and features voice acting in Pokemon at her gym. The Japanese version of this song is way better, by the way. Verbank City also has one of the most dope and underrated concepts in Pokemon, Pokestar Studios. I'm not gonna lie, as a teen, I would always skip over this part because it seemed so repetitive, but I was wrong. A lot, actually. This feature had so much content to unpack and movies to make. There are so many scenarios in which you, the player, are an actor, and a plethora of movies to be created. I'm not gonna go through every single scenario, but just know they are very unique and act like a Pokemon rental system in my opinion. I'll get into that talking point in a little bit.
Next, we head over to the middleest portion of the game, from Castelia to Mistralton City. Castelia City offers a similar experience as the OG Black and White games, but the player now has access to Castelia sewers and the Relic Passage with 2 new dungeons introduced. In the Castelia sewers, some dope Pokemon are also available, including the fan favorite Eevee. Outside of that, Iris and Berg make their appearances once again. Berg is still relatively the same, but has a sick new gym concept, and Iris makes her appearance pretty early on as the new champion of Unova. What I like about this is that Iris actually has a connection to the other gym leaders of the region. The gym characters actually have personalities and play parts in the story. It also shows that they know each other and they don't just sit around in her gym the entire time they exist within the region. This is something that Black and White did well, and Black and White 2 carries this over.
Up after Castelia City is what I consider to be the most underrated feature in all Pokemon games, Join Avenue. I never understood this feature as a teen, but The goal of Join Avenue is to create a street filled with many different shops with tons of items to buy. The way to develop this further is by interacting with other players. Chuggaaconroy really demonstrated what Join Avenue can look like, and it's absolutely mind-blowing what going to a convention can do when mostly everyone brings a copy of Black and White 2. Pokemon really put in a lot of effort towards Join Avenue, and I'm a little upset they don't have this feature nowadays. This is one of those features where Pokemon didn't have to do this, but they did. It's an incredibly underrated one, and really just highlights why Black and White 2 are considered as amazing as they are.
After Join Avenue, the player makes a reappearance to the city of Nimbasa, home to one of the best, for some, Pokemon waifus of all time, Elisa. And yes, it is Elisa. If you've been pronouncing it wrong all these years, you've been corrected. I am right, and don't try to tell me otherwise in the comment down below. But anyway, her old gym is turned into a roller coaster ride. Her new gym is a modeling show. Her new design is fire, and so is the music. Something about Nimbasa that players sometimes tend to forget about, though, is the Lost Item side quest. You come across a lost X transceiver, either belonging to an NPC named Yancy or Curtis, depending on which gender you are. For females, Curtis. For males, Yancy. The entire questline is going to a variety of different locations, having unique conversations on the lost X transceiver in different spots across Unova. Throughout the line, the player learns more about this set of NPCs, and eventually they meet up where the player returns the lost item. They then give the player their number, and they interact a few more times. At the end of this quest line, though, they offer rare Pokemon from other regions to trade, which is honestly a very rewarding experience after the player's hard work in helping Yancy or Curtis. You get a fun character, new Pokemon, and a fun new side quest to do while you're going through the games.
Drifbell City is pretty similar to OG Black and White, but here we get introduced to probably the most notable feature of Black and White 2, the Pokemon World Tournament. This is the best, if not one of the best features ever introduced to a Pokemon game, period. You get to battle past trainers, gym leaders, champions, etc. And they all come equipped with their own unique teams, and even a killer remix of their home region's melody battle theme. Their teams are also pretty packed with some dope Pokemon choices. Also in Driftville City is Team Plasma's sick-looking pirate ship. I'll get into Team Plasma in a bit though. I'm still just going over what each city and such has to offer.
Mistralton is relatively the same, but after beating Skyland, the player then flies in her plane to the eastern part of Unova, where it was post-game area in the previous titles. This opens up Unova's map further to explore brand new places such as, for example, Unadilla Town. And as well, the game offers new places, making it brand new experiences while keeping the old ones fresh by adding new dungeons, returning characters, with new character development and interactions. Features that give the players something to do while they play through the main story, while being also rewarded plentifully, just overall getting an experience of Unova from a brand new angle.
We've talked about the places, some features, and even a few characters, but not much about the story. The reasoning for that is because Team Plasma is the story. This evil team is definitely one of the most diverse and interesting teams in the entire franchise of Pokemon. Their main premise is allowing Pokemon to be free, and they see Pokemon as being slaves to Pokemon trainers. To them, Pokemon being contained in Pokeballs is not allowing them to truly be free, and Pokemon trainers are the scum of Earth. This philosophy is spread all across Unova in the original Black and White titles, where of course we meet one of the most amazing protagonists, N, or Natural Harmonia Gropius. N was a feral child who could speak to Pokemon, later taken in by the leader of Team Plasma, Ghetsis. What makes Team Plasma so appealing is the fact that Ghetsis is just a complete and utter freaking maniac. I mean, other Pokemon bosses are maniacs, sure, but this man took a child, brainwashed the living heck out of him, and groomed him to be this messiah of Pokemon freedom, all while trying to gain power through the legendary Unovan dragons. This man is just straight up cold. After N realizes what is truly going on, he leaves Team Plasma, and thus the team gets divided, with the new Neo Team Plasma, who still follow Getsus, and the deserters of Team Plasma, who still follow N. With these events in Unova of old Team Plasma, a lot of characters are impacted by their heinous acts, including Black and White 2's main rival, Hugh. As I mentioned earlier, his sister's purloin was taken from her at a very young age, and Hugh was also very young when this happened. He feels guilty because he wasn't able to do anything to help his sister, feeling helpless and powerless. All these feelings develop Hugh's hatred for Team Plasma, and we see through this story the true impacts of Team Plasma's previous actions through our childhood friend, and the traumatic experience he had to go through. So we as the players get to see firsthand what Team Plasma did to individuals, emotionally and physically. Getsus is truly evil, and N was just an innocent child with a very clay-like brain, being able to be molded into anything Getsus so desired. N does make an appearance again though in Black and White 2 with this dragon, depending on which game you chose. Pretty much once again to help the player stop Getsus once and for all. A question that me and other fans have always thought is, why don't the previous protagonists from Black and White make an appearance? Well, the answer to that is because the previous protagonists went on a journey to find N, and are actually never successful. Pokemon could have brought them back, but for whatever reason, they scraped the idea. That interaction could have overall made an entirely different impact on the story, but alas. To me, it doesn't make or break Black and White 2 though. Once Getsus loses, he has a total mental breakdown, and this just shows that the dude is completely off the walls. I actually think that's what makes Getsus the most appealing evil team leader though. He's a very well-written villain. I'm not saying that other bosses aren't well-written, it's just Getsus is a genius. He's cutthroat, and will do whatever it takes to get what he wants through the most inhumane way possible. He truly is a monster.
Yeah, Team Plasma was truly something special. What's also interesting about Team Plasma is Chorus. He joins Team Plasma for his own reasons, with his own true goal of wanting to discover the true way to draw out Pokemon's strength. And throughout the story, it just seems like he's using Team Plasma for his own actions, while also helping them and fulfilling his own desires at the same time by battling the player. In a way, it seems like he really admires the protagonist.
So, we've covered the story, some features, etc. Now, let's head to the post-game section of Pokemon Black and White 2. This might sound like a hot take, but I actually think Black and White 2 has the best post-game in this series. We only scratched the surface of features available. There's still a few really cool ones that some people don't remember. Heck, I know I didn't for sure. Did you guys know that Pokemon has a roguelike aspect? I didn't even know what this term meant until I saw what was possible with the Black City in White Forest. It takes rogue aspects of the Battle Pyramid / Pike, but not quite Battle Frontier format. Speaking of the Battle Frontier, players including myself were pretty upset that the Battle Frontier wasn't included for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. But what if I were to tell you that Black and White 2 did in fact put in the Battle Frontier? Just not in a direct way. Arguably, some of the elements that make up a Battle Frontier are already there. The Battle Subway is the Battle Tower. The Pokemon World Tournament is the Battle Dome, but cooler. Pokestar Studios bring parts of the rental aspects of the Battle Factory, plus the restricted / special rules battle aspect of other Frontier facilities. Especially if you bring your own Pokemon and aim for the special endings and such of the Black City in White Forest. By the way, I got this information from a commenter from a Black and White 2 review, and I thought it was pretty insightful and informative, so props to this comment.
To be honest, I could go in depth about so many things lore-wise and secret boss-wise regarding in Black and White 2 that would fill an entire novel if you want me to, but I think it's pretty obvious that the biggest secret boss fight in Pokemon Black and Pokemon White 2 was the Cynthia house. It spawned nothing but memes for over almost a decade now on how unprepared one could be when running into Cynthia in her little vacation home in Unova, where she's ready to just basically like, get up out my house, I'm going to deck you and destroy you for coming in or even gracing me with your presence. So there is that. But I think ultimately Unova's best attribute is its lore to the overall franchise. We get a stellar introduction to the legendary Pokemon once again in Black and White 2 through the concept of the story of the original dragon. We also still have the continuation of truth and ideals here. We also have the previous historical conflicts from the Swords of Justice to the twin heroes and their sons destroying Unova with their fire and obviously electric powers due to the fact of both Reshiram and Zekrom's back history. And there's enough here that leaves it open to Mystique that we can also kind of draw our own conclusions to, such as, for example, things like the Abyssal Ruins. There are so many things in Pokemon Black and White 2 that make them a absolute chore to dive into lore-wise, but in a good way. This isn't a slogged out lore game where you're just piecing things together and getting very minute answers. You're receiving not only great answers about the land of Unova, but also answers about the Pokemon franchise as a whole. So it's clear that Pokemon Black and White 2 was not only one of the peak entries in the franchise, but it was also peak 2D Pokemon. And the flip over to the 3D era is where a lot of these aspects start to wane, both lore-wise and design-wise. And if you're interested to hear our thoughts on that, hop over to my channel because we're going to be posting a video on this topic very, very soon. Well, everyone, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me, Mystic. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next video over on my channel. Drogane out.
Well, that wraps up why we think, and some fans also think, Pokemon Black and White 2 are the best games in the franchise. We did a video over on Drogane's channel talking about why Pokemon hasn't felt the same in the last 3 games or so. This video will be coming out very soon, so be sure to subscribe to Drogane so you don't miss it. Anywho, what'd you guys think? Do you agree that Pokemon Black and White 2 are the best Pokemon games? What set of games do you deem the best if you disagree? Let us know down below. And thank you once again to Drogane for working with me on this project.